Hello and welcome to Wolfman Gaming. This is my Callisto Protocol Final Transmission DLC walkthrough, and this is episode 1, which I have decided to name Wake Up, and that is due to a cutscene that plays before this DLC starts, because when the main game ends, Danny escapes in a pod. Jacob gets attacked by a bunch of biophages, and things get quite hectic. And as this DLC starts, we wake up in another part of Black Iron Prison. So that's why I decided to name it this way. And this is quite intense. I like this beginning. No introduction, no nothing, just straight into action. And since this DLC takes place after the main game, when you go into it, you will have the two options. Either you can start this DLC, so to speak, fresh, if you don't have a completed game save file, or you can choose to continue on your save file. And I decided to go for the continue on save file option. So this starts off from the same save file I used for my walkthrough of the main game, my maximum security walkthrough. But whichever you choose, that is entirely up to you. And if you choose to go in from a clean save file, that is quite interesting, actually, because on my first playthrough of this DLC, I did that, and I played through. By the way, important thing to know: this recording is made on medium security, not maximum security, and I will get back to why I decided to do it that way. But first I'm gonna finish what I was saying, and that is if you choose to open this up from, so to speak, a fresh save file, you are actually given a few different upgrades. I don't know if it's random or not, but I know that on my first playthrough, as I said, I went into this from a clean save file because I want to see how it was in comparison to continuing from an already existing one. By the way, quick note here: make sure you have your shotgun out before you open this door, because a spitter will jump down. So just give him a very warm welcome. But going into this from a clean save file, I'm gonna try once again to finish that sentence. I was given a few upgrades to my gear. I think my grip glove was somewhat upgraded and stuff like that. And I don't know if they have like a set loadout they give you, or if it's just a few random upgrades to ease your travels. Your continued travels through Black Iron Prison. But going back to medium security and maximum security, there is no trophy for beating Final Transmission on hard or maximum security. So that is one reason why you can skip going through it on that. But the other reason, which is the true reason why I decide to do this on medium security, is in this DLC we are introduced to a new enemy type called Biobots. You will see one of them in this episode. We are not gonna engage it in combat, but you will see it. And Biobots have... I have done a lot of experimenting. As usual, I try to do quite substantial research before doing my walkthroughs. And Biobots, when you engage in combat with them, they're basically like fighting a regular biophage. They have an AoE attack that can be quite easily avoided, and they are tanky as hell. But with the dodging system of this game, which remains intact from the main story, I might add, there shouldn't be a problem, right? You can easily avoid an AoE. It doesn't have a very big area that it affects, so quite easy to stay away from, and it has quite a big wind up. So it's very well telegraphed when they're gonna do it. But the thing is, when they go into a swing combo, sometimes, not every time, but sometimes they do a quicker swing. And in my experience, through substantial testing, that cannot be avoided. And it seems to be completely random, and when it first happened to me, I thought I was a bit rusty. You know, I haven't played the game in quite some time, and I played other games in between. Been sinking a lot of hours into Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. So first I just thought, oh, it's me, I'm a bit rusty, I know. I talked about that in my walkthrough for the main game, that you have to be quite precise in how you move your analog stick when you're dodging. Like the angle of the analog stick has to be quite precise, or else Jacob will try to block, or he will do nothing and just face tank the hit. But no, in my experience that is not the case, and I even went into watched other videos, like, am I doing something wrong? Could it be something that I have missed? And other people seem to experiencing the same thing as I do, or as I did. And the thing is, when you're playing this on maximum security, I've talked about this, and if you have played on maximum security as well, you know that if enemies connect, if a hit connects, it takes off a chunk of Jacob's health. And those Biobots, they hit like a truck. So that will whittle down your health quickly. And there are certain instances where you will engage more than one of them, and that can be very frustrating. I played through most of the DLC on maximum security. I actually gave up towards the end because I was so frustrated with taking chip damage and slowly dying. So I decided to, fuck it, I'm going down to medium security because it's just not worth it. And very soon we're getting up to a puzzle. There is a trophy in this game called Quick Pick for beating one of these puzzles in, I think it's 7 seconds. I recommend, it's hard to show you how to do it, but here's the puzzle. This is the one, this first one is the one where you want to do it. Because you need to sync up these gears, or whatever you call them. A few of them will move on their own. You'll see, like, clicking down. And every time you reset that puzzle, they will move into random positions. What I recommend you do if you're going for the Quick Pick trophy, which I guess you will, is set the game over to easy temporarily. You can change the difficulty of this game at any time. And by the way, there's the first data log. I will not be picking up any of the data logs. There is a collectible trophy for this DLC as well. And I think you will actually see all the audio logs or data logs in these videos. So you can pick them up, but I refuse to do so. Anyone who's watched before knows how this goes. But the Quick Pick trophy, as I said, every time you reset the puzzle, those rollers, or whatever you call them, will go into new positions, so you need to be a little bit lucky. If you put it down on easy, any rollers that move on their own will move slower, which will make it a lot easier. And I recommend just try and try again. If the counter reaches 0, because you saw there was a 20-second countdown, if that reaches 0, the counter will reset and the roller thingies, don't know what the word is for them, will reset into new positions. So I recommend just redo that one on easy until you get a good pattern and try to not get frustrated. It's very easy to get frustrated. But if you knuckle down, I think it only took me like 1 or 2 minutes to do it, which is a few attempts, but it can be done. And I think it's an odd choice for a puzzle, because they you will come across them a few times throughout this DLC. Why I recommend you do the quick pick on the first one is just because it is the easiest one. The further you get into the DLC, usually you will still have 5 gears or whatever it is. The setup will never change, but how they move will change, and you'll have more moving parts or more gears try to move on their own the further into the DLC you get. And now I think I went the wrong way. And that is something quite interesting with this DLC. You saw the glitching there? That is something I really like about this one. I think that is a really cool design choice. Because the main game was about basic classic survival horror in a really really hostile environment. But I think this DLC, it ups the ante a little bit by adding in those surreal elements. And as you can see, I am quite stalked. As I said, I continued on my beaten save file, or my game completed save file. So I did have quite a bit of ammo after the last boss fight against Captain Ferris. And I also I did some upgrades to my stun baton. Don't open this locker, by the way. It contains a slug. There's never anything useful in there. There's only just a slug, so just ignore that locker. But yes, I also did some upgrades to my stun baton to make this go easier. There is no need to do it if you don't want to. But now we're gonna meet a Biobot. So when you jump down, stand still. Do not move a single step, because he is quite aware when he's looking in our direction. And as soon as he starts moving away, we can start crouching behind him. And we're gonna do a ballsy thing. We're gonna tuck our balls and pray. Because we're gonna sneak up behind him and steal a thing from a desk. So just crouch in behind him here. He's gonna move down the middle lane and we're gonna follow him. When we get past this corner you see over there to the right, stand up and run. Quickly pick up the CPU printer, run back, make a hard left, make another hard left, and jump up into this vent, like so, and you're safe. And another new fun addition. I don't know if the developers watched my walkthrough of the main game and realized the vents are quite pointless. I have trimmed out crawling in the vents in the main game. And to some extent done it in this game as well, but there is a little kicker in some of these vents. You'll see a transition, and when we come around this corner, this happens. That is to show you that the vents are no longer completely safe. In some of them there are those traps. They are very easy. Don't worry, I will not trim out any vents where there are those traps. I will show you. The only thing you need to do when one of them activates is pull back on the analog stick and start crawling the other way immediately, and you will avoid it. So it's very simple. It's just to switch it up a little bit, make it a little more interesting crawling through those vents, which I think is actually a good thing, because just having a transport, you know, like just distance you need to cross, feels a bit odd, especially in a survival horror game. By the way, be careful here, because I have a spitter that spawns in behind me. I think it spits in my neck. Nasty bastard. And you could hear, maybe you could hear an audio cue there, like his cell opened up or he came out the vent. So be careful. Usually he spawns in front of you unless you have moved up too far. But always be cautious. And that is something I realized playing through this on medium security. In, what is it, in like chapter 3 or 4 of the main game, they start showing you enemies getting those little clusters of tentacles where they mutate into a new form. And they also give you a tutorial hint that if you shoot that cluster of tentacles, you can instantly kill them. And that is not really the case when you're playing this on maximum security. Anyone who's played through it on that knows that they still take quite a beating. And that was, I think, a welcome change. Taking it down to medium security instead, or normal difficulty, because now you can actually instant kill enemies by shooting them in those clusters of tentacles. And when we get over here, we have a thick boy. And a little reminder, if you haven't played this game before, or if you haven't played it in a while, I have a fully upgraded grip glove. I have said that that is the absolute most overpowered weapon in this game, and I stand by it as long as it comes to regular biophages. It is not applicable against bosses or biobots, which is very sad, but understandable, because a biobot probably weighs way too much for Jacob to be able to lift them. Either way, when you're picking up an enemy with your grip glove and want to throw them, in order to maximize your damage output, make sure you throw them some distance. Don't like stand immediately in front of a wall and throw them, because you will do less damage in comparison to if you're standing like a few meters away from the wall. Because how the grip glove works is that they actually gain momentum when you throw them. So if they have some distance to gain like maximum velocity, the damage output will increase significantly. So if you throw someone at a pillar that is like 5 meters away, they will more or less just sprawl on impact. But as you can see, when we came out of that room and picked up the fuse, some enemies spawn in, so make sure to stay in this corner and just put your back against the wall more or less and take them all out before you proceed. It's always good in this game, whenever you end up in one of these gauntlets of enemies, to like put yourself against the wall so no one can sneak in behind you. Because Jacob is a beast when it comes to dodging attacks coming in from the front. Attacks coming in from the back is a whole different ball game. you will not be able to dodge anything coming in from the back. And that is info just for people that are new to this game. And you saw also I did the upgrade to my my stun baton. I upgraded it so that when an enemy tries to block, it will usually chop off their arm. I did it just to make combat smoother and quicker, because enemies, when they have only one arm, they can only do single swings. So it will make going through this DLC a little bit smoother. You don't have to do that upgrade if you don't want to. And a way into this DLC, like 2/3 into it, we will also be switching out the stun baton for a new weapon. So if you want to, you can save your money if you want to like get new weapons or upgrade anything else. And that enemy that crawled around the corner is the only enemy you will engage in this corridor. And the thing you want to do in here is open this chest and loot through it. I only got a lot of credits. And also towards the end here, there is another data log. That is data log number 2. If you're going for collectibles. You can feel free to pick that up. And going through this DLC, I will also be picking up the random trophies along the way. There is one called Don't Let It Mellow for breaking a bunch of boxes with our new hammer later on, which we will take. And I will also show you how to get a hidden trophy called... I think it's called This Isn't About Escape or something. But we'll talk more about that when we get there. And after you've gone out of this corridor, don't forget to bring the fuse, because our whole purpose of running around this cell block is to be able to open that door towards the end of this corridor with the broken fuse. And going back over here, we're gonna fight the last few enemies. The last stragglers not being let out of their cells. And there you saw the awesome power of shooting enemies in a cluster. I love it. And as I said, I was amazed playing through this on medium security, like, wow, that is really a power move. Now I get it. Because when you're playing on hard, it's just more or less that enemies now have 2 health bars when they start mutating. And there you see what I mean, Fat Boy. I threw him into the wall from quite some distance and shit went flying. So always try to throw them at a bit of a distance to maximize the damage you do to them. And of course, as always, never forget to stomp the corpses, because all enemies drop loot. But now we can switch out this fuse and head into this room. Very soon. I think I missed the button prompt. And of course loot through everything. And now going into this vent over to my right. Here's also a store if you want to buy or sell something. Make sure to sell anything that is just used to be sold. But going in through this vent, we will have another one of those traps. So we start crawling and you'll see it light up. I think it's when we come around the next corner. And as it activates, all you need to do is pull back on the left analog stick. And Jacob will like change direction. Yes, there we have it. Just pull back, he'll turn around, and we start crawling away. And you'll go into this cutscene and end up back at the Wolfman Gaming title screen. So I wanna welcome you very much to this walkthrough. I hope you will enjoy it, and I hope you will find it helpful, and I will see you again in my next video. So until next time, this is the Wolfman signing off.